Hello, everybody. Welcome to, I don't know what week this is, probably like week 9 or 10 if this is sus, but we've been on a little bit of a, I don't know if it feels right to call it premium cable. I mean, technically these last 2 shows we're doing, including this one, are on premium cable, specifically the Showtime network, but I think the shows on Showtime network, they need to be described a different way than premium cable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is... So we watched Billions this week. I have Amber here to talk about Billions.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, by the way.
My pleasure. I don't know what I would describe these shows to. They're like USA Network shows, kind of. But
right.
Kind of better.
Like, Felix and I are obsessed with USA Network shows, too, because they're so, like, their own genre, and they're so, like, ridiculous in a very unique way. And this felt, it wasn't as ridiculous as a USA Network show, but it was closer to USA than HBO.
Absolutely. Like, so Meghan Markle always fascinated me because I thought, like, is there a better symbol of this era than a USA Network star marrying into a royal family? That's, like, perfect. That's perfect. The evil Anglo Empire and the USA Network to get, like, finally merged.
Yeah, the USA Network Empire and the English Empire, sure.
Yeah, but USA Network shows are hilarious to us, and I always thought about like a type of person that watches them. I was thinking about like an old friend I had like 12 years ago, like when I was a freshly minted adult. I had a friend who he wasn't sheltered, like he had a girlfriend and shit, but he was like, "Dude, do you watch Covert Affairs?" And I'd be like. I was like, no.
No one does. Fuck? Literally, no one does.
And he was like, the girl on it's really hot. And it's like pornography is like easy to find.
Yeah, that's such a a weird excuse. It's like, that's not why you watch it. You like the show. Like, my thing is that my ex-brother-in-law loved Bird Notice.
Oh my, that's the funniest one to me.
Like,
Bird Notice is the funniest one.
He loved Bird Notice. And I think he felt a little bit better about it because there was kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing to it. Like, it was like a little bit self-aware. But that doesn't mean, being self-aware and ridiculous doesn't mean you're not ridiculous. But it was like, I think it's like the presence of Bruce Campbell gave him permission to be like, well, you know, I have some ironic distance from this show.
Yeah.
Like, no, you don't, dude. You love Bird Notice. You're a guy that loves Bird Notice.
Yeah. And I always like, it's like Bruce Campbell allowed a lot of people. I think Bird Notice was probably the most widely watched. But then again, it's like, I don't think anyone's watching these shows. But then, yeah, you meet just like dozens of people in your life who are like, dude, you ever watch Suits? It's like there are people watching this shit. But, you know, this is why Showtime is the USA Network, like a Tony or USA Network, because I didn't think that anyone watched Ray Donovan. And then I met several friends who watched Ray Donovan.
Right.
And specifically, my friends' parents who loved Ray Donovan. Like, that's a show for dads. And this show, I think people watch Billions, too.
I think they do, too. And I'm going to go ahead and go on a limb here and say for good reason. 1, very well cast.
Yeah.
2, it's like got like weirdly, it's kind of like a smarter Law and Order for financial crimes with self-contained seasons and everything. Like, I read up on like more of the broader story arcs or whatever, which is, it's weirdly, not that I care, but it's weirdly politically good. And
it's not, yeah.
And we don't actually have a lot of, obviously the prestige version of that is Succession, but we don't have, that's such a rich, like, financial crimes is such a rich subject for, like, you know, a drama, that it's amazing that there aren't more of them. But this thing is so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, so I do want to, after the end of the recap, I want to compare this to Succession because I think the comparison points are super interesting. I'm fascinated by them. But I want to explain what we mean by like USA type show. Like what we mean by USA type show. Okay, you know how like on a Netflix show you can tell that they're made by a computer. You can tell they're made by a computer because every scene is made to be GIFable. It's meant to be like shared that way, or like a scene where it's like touches on a hot button social issue so they can push it out quick and it can go viral.
Yeah, and actual human beings making the Pixar face.
Yeah, exactly. A Showtime or a USA Network show is different. It's like as forced, but I think it comes from a more honest place. USA Network shows aren't made to be GIF or like viral memes by repurposed Gladio Twitter accounts. They're made to be like Tumblr communities and YouTube highlight videos.
Yeah.
Like, whenever they write a character on a USA Network or USA Network type show, they're thinking of like 5 years from now when someone's like, you know, X best moments, Meghan Markle's best moments, and it's set to like a Five for Fighting song.
Right.
That's what they're thinking of. And
I think too, like in the way that it is memeable, like, you know, like the Bird Notice, the Baba O'Reilly, you know, Roger Daltrey scream that everyone was using for a while. Like it's without like context. It's just like, and I don't mean this word disparagingly. It's just kind of epic.
Yeah.
And it's a good time. It's a good time for people who like good times.
So I think we'll just jump into this. Billions, like Ray Donovan, it starts out with a bang. Yep. You know how Ray Donovan starts out with Ray throwing a woman in the dumpster? Billions starts out with Paul Giamatti getting domed. Right. Getting peed on.
This is 2016 too. Very important that this premiered in 2016. Yes.
No, yeah. So he's a U.S. attorney for like Southern District, New York. He's Elliot Spitzer.
Yeah, like they said they based it off of Elliot Spitzer and one other guy. And they open it up immediately. Yes, him.
I hope Preet Bharara wasn't having sex.
Yeah. No, I mean, but they open it just with it's bondage. He gets burned with a cigarette, pissed on. You know, it's kind of a cliche, like powerful man actually likes being domed, but you're like, okay, let's see where this goes. And then they go to his office.
Yeah, and there's like this tete-a-tete he has with an SEC official, and I love this. The SEC official looks exactly like Mikey Miles. He looks so much like him. I thought he was just gonna plop down like a plate of noodles with wet broccoli on top of them and be like, what do you think of this?
I like the fact that they named him Ari Spiros, which is like naming him like, you know, Jewish baklava. Like, it's just like a placeholder ethnic white name.
Yeah, no, they were just like, takes place in New York, whatever, fuck it. We'll give you two things. So he's bringing him some recordings of some trades that the SEC flagged from some big players in the financial industry. But it's a big deal because he thinks he can connect it to Bobby Axelrod, who's sort of like the star hedge fund manager.
Yeah. The Axe.
The Axe, yeah. Bobby Axelrod. And Bobby Axelrod is played by Damian Lewis.
Who has such a punchable face. Perfect casting.
Yeah. And Paul Giamatti basically tells Rothschild Spinacopita, he basically tells him like, hey, I bide my time. I have an undefeated record on financial crimes because I know exactly when to go after them. And he's too strong now.
Yeah. So, and it's also like, this is the first point at which you realize that like this could be a very easy good guys versus bad guys thing where you're like, yeah, we want pissed on Paul Giamatti to get the bad guy. But you realize also he has his own like daddy issues and stuff. And he doesn't want the SEC to get the guy without him getting the guy. So that's why he tells him to pull back. You realize he has sort of petty personal things that he's obsessed with, which is interesting because like one of the writers of this is Andrew Ross Sorkin, no relation. He's at the Times Financial columnist. He's on Squawk Box. Whoever watches that, he wrote Too Big to Fail.
Yeah, and Andrew Ross Sorkin famously said after the Snowden story that Glenn Greenwald should be arrested.
Right. And he wrote this ironically with David Levin and Brian Koppelman, who wrote like Ocean's 13 and Rounders. Movies where you're rooting for the people who are cheating and stealing.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of that because after the SEC scene and Giamatti sort of giving boxing analogies for why he only wants to take on Axelrod when the time's right, we formally get introduced to Axelrod, and
he's in the old neighborhood.
Yeah, he's in the old, like, outer borough shithole, and he's in a pizza place that him and his friend would go to after school, and the pizza place, it's getting moved in on by a pita place. I don't know.
It says a falafel shop, which I'm like, is that real? Are those things really in competition? Like, I don't, like, I've never been like, instead of a nice, yummy falafel, I would like a giant, greasy New York slice. Also, I don't like pizza, so which is why I'm getting kicked out of this state eventually.
It's not that great.
Once a year, I love a pizza, but not often. But I can't figure out how he saves, quote unquote, saves the neighborhood business other than like bullying the Arabs that run the fucking falafel shop.
Okay, I rewound this scene, and so what I figured out is he buys the company that owns the lease of the pizza place and releases them at like 0% interest.
Okay. But then he says he's going in on it as a partner. So like he said, I want another slice. In fact, I want all of it. And he's like saying, I'm a partner. Only thing that changes is, and it's just like, well, this actually kind of sounds like you are forcing them to abdicate some control of their business to you legally. And also maybe pushing out a immigrant business into a strip mall.
Yeah, that was the thing. Is like, I don't know. Was the PETA thing, was that like a message about multiculturalism?
I don't understand it at all.
But I do want to talk about Damian Lewis's accent in this because he literally just sounds like Donald Trump. Like, that's his outer borough accent.
Yeah, that's what he's like. Well, that guy's from Queens. And he's supposed to come from like hard Scrabble beginnings is the thing. But he just sounds, it sounds weird. He sounds weird. It's a weird accent. There are a lot of different old New York accents that you almost never hear anymore. Donald Trump does have a specific type of New York accent, but it's a rich guy New York accent.
Yeah, like it's that weird hiss. Like Damian Lewis does it where, in every scene he's supposed to do this Queens or Long Island outer borough tough. But the first scene you see him in, he's like, your pizza's so nice. I love it. It's like, it's
kind of like leans in and like, you always put pizza on my tab when I couldn't afford it. And it's like, what? You had a pizza tab?
Yeah.
No wonder this business is going under.
All right, so
quit blaming the immigrants. Start charging people for pizza.
No, you could really see how they got in this situation. So now, like that scene's like, all right, maybe there's a good side to Bobby Axelrod, but then we see, why they want to go after Axelrod.
Right.
They're at their the headquarters for their hedge fund. And I actually like this this is very true to life. They had the headquarters of the hedge fund in Connecticut.
Yeah, in Westport.
Like,
and that was like they didn't give locations for the pizza place or Giamatti's sex dungeon, but they gave it for Westport, which I think it would have been better if they had done that more consistently. But I like that they put it in Westport, and the guys walk like his number 2, I forget his name, is like wearing a micro fleece vest,
I love that too.
Yeah.
That is how hedge fund guys dress.
It's attention to detail. Like yeah.
So he's doing a walk and talk in the huge headquarters of the hedge fund, and these two guys, his one number 2 and like the young whiz kid from Stanford, are giving him data on these block of trades. Axelrod instantly deduces what's up before they do.
Yeah. By the way, I think I know more than the average person about economics by kind of a lot, but even I get kind of confused when it comes to like finance. And I kind of like that they didn't make me figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, and like, again, like to understand the Martha Stewart thing, I had to draw a chart. So like, I kind of like that they like, try to Big Short it, like to write it like that. They were just like, no, I figured it out. And you're like, oh, okay, that's all I need to know.
Right, because it's efficient. That's like USA style writing. Right. It's not like amazing writing where you're like, oh, wow, I'm gripped by these financial trades. But it is like very competent and smart writing where it's like, don't worry about this. Just get the point that this guy's really smart.
Yeah, I think that was the way to do it because this is not a show that's supposed to teach you about American finance. It's a cool guy drama about big money, and one of my favorite thing was when his number 2 was like, "That's a good catch, man." He goes, "Don't butter my ass." You know that thing that people say?
Yeah, again, like if I was a British person pretending to be American in Westport, Connecticut,
exactly.
Say, "Don't butter my ass."
That's how they sound. Yeah, that's the equivalent of those that video game where Japanese people were like making up American names. This is a British person trying to figure out how tough guy Americans sound. Yeah, and they made that joke too, like, and he went to Hofstra, and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Hofstra's so fine in school.
I don't. This was the thing where I'm like, okay, I have to. This is not my. I do not come from this type of criminal. I come from more of a Sons of Anarchy type of criminal. I have to ask Felix for a translation of what Hofstrax is.
Well, that's like, okay, I'm glad he said Sons of Anarchy because this is Sons of Anarchy for the financial world.
Right, yes.
Like, that's what's awesome about it.
Yeah.
But, so we get the Alex Rod sandwich. We get like a scene of him doing something nice, a scene of him showing he's like rapacious and highly intelligent in business. And then there's a hilarious scene.
Oh my God, yes.
This scene is this is so Sons of Anarchy, where he gathers the orphans of every traitor who died in 9/11
in his firm, which for some reason maybe he got a tip that he wasn't supposed to be in the tower that day.
We have to keep watching this because what if there's an episode where it's like flashback September 10th, 2001. Bobby, don't come into work tomorrow.
He gets a message on the telex. Yeah, they're his little Lebowski urban achievers, except they're not. They are the orphans of extremely rich traders that died in his like these aren't people. This isn't like Pete Davidson, whose dad was like a firefighter. Yeah. Like this is like these were fine. I mean, it's sad that they lost their dad, but they don't need help with college. That's not their problem. Their problem is that their dad is dead.
Yeah, like judging, like everyone on this show makes like $30 million a year.
Yeah.
And these guys, every rich guy in middle age has life insurance pretty much. Like it just.
Those guys definitely, for sure. And there were resources and like they got money, like, but he has to have like this big dog and pony show about how he's like, I don't know, doing some little Lebowski urban achievers for the 1%. And then this bitch.
This part's so insane. This like dumb bitch, this dumb Connecticut bitch, this wasp is like,
it should have been you.
She literally is like, oh, so I don't get why some people were luckier than others that day. Like, I didn't know she was implying that he knew about 9/11.
Like, that was where my head went. Like, I'm like, are you saying that, like, he got a tip? Like, are you saying that, like, you know, his bagel guy put a little, like, fortune cookie-sized message not to go? Like, what is this storyline? Why is she bitter after all of these years? And then when he does this weird, so he condescends to this 9/11 widow and tries to big dick her by like dueling tragic women with his wife whose brother died in 9/11, which by the way, I'm sorry, not the same thing. And like, so she goes to like comfort the 9/11 widow, but then you find out, you know, Malin Ackerman, who plays his wife, is like, you know, I know you've been through a lot. It was difficult. And this bitch is like, yeah, we had to sell the yacht, which is really the worst part of being a widow, having to sell your yacht. And then Malin Ackerman is like, well, I came from, you know, Inwood or whatever. By the way, not believable as a hardscrabble girl. And she ends by like threatening her and then being like, yes, I'm threatening you. I come from tough people, with her little Malin Ackerman sunshine face. Like,
I don't believe. Yeah, she's doing the best she can, but I don't believe her in that role. And also,
I like her. You know, she's cute. She's funny. I liked her in like the fucking Harold and Kumar movie. She's like funny. She looks like a low carb Meghan McCain, but she is not believable as a hardscrabble like girl being like, don't talk to my husband that way or I will fucking kill you.
Also, like, did you catch when she said, I grew up with 5 sibs? Another thing no one has ever said.
No one says that. That's not, yeah. But yeah, so for some reason she's threatening the woman who is also just basically everyone's awful. What you're just everyone's awful. Everyone's rich and awful, and they're mad about their boats and not the fact that their loved ones died.
Yeah. So we get. Oh yeah, the name of Giamatti's number 2 is Brian. So yeah, Brian and Paul Giamatti are having lunch, and they're talking about Axelrod and talking about the files that Ari Spiros from the SEC brought over. And Giamatti's giving this whole thing like, do you think a good matador... Yeah, he says, do you think a good matador pokes a fresh bull? No, he waits until it's been cut a few times.
Metaphors upon metaphors upon metaphors. It's 3D chess, it's sports, it's bullfighting. It's stylized, but it's really snappy dialogue. And normally when Chapo makes me watch TV, it's like a fucking some Sorkin thing, and I'm just screaming the whole time. But this is like fun. It's like stupid and fun. It's ridiculous. Like the director and the writers clearly like actors. They let Paul Giamatti like do his Paul Giamatti thing. They let them like play around and kind of ham it up and chew on the scenery. But it is really fucking funny when they say something like, "Don't butter my ass."
Yeah. So Kate, one of the young staffers at the U.S. Attorney's Office, tips off Giamatti, Chuck Rhodes, that Bobby is considering buying a $38 million property on the Hamptons, and that
I thought it was 83. It was 83.
Oh, it was 83?
Yes.
Fuck.
Yeah.
My brain reversed it.
Valued at. Yeah, because that's such an obscene number. And they show the thing, and it's like an ugly wasp castle. It's disgustingly ugly. It's like, oh my God, wealth is wasted on the rich. None of them even have any taste anymore.
Yeah. The Wasps, ever since like the Breakers, they haven't all their houses just look like JCPenney superstores.
They do. They look like the expensive mall.
Yes. Yes. It's insane. It looks like heaven designed by Macy's.
Yes. Oh my God. No, I figured it out. It looks like if the Sistine Chapel was Protestant. So ugly.
It's awful. So their reasoning is like, if he buys this like dumb piece of shit palace, that he'll no longer be like the 9/11 folk hero like he is to people, and it'll be okay, it'll be safer for the U.S. Attorney's Office to go after him.
Because so much of this is apparently based on public opinion, and I'm not sure how true this is, because the only like bankers that went to jail after the crash were like a small Chinese bank that like I don't actually think that public opinion wanted or cared about those like, those the small Chinese bank that like, runs half of Chinatown and that's it. I think they actually wanted like the big evil people. So I'm not sure how much this really plays out, but I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. Public opinion probably doesn't hurt if you're trying to convict someone.
No, yeah, it's like a weird conflict to make, but I mean, I guess it is one. So
yeah, and he would look like a dickhead. So, and for Giamatti, who's very image obsessed too, it at least makes sense for the internal world of his character.
Yeah. So, the next scene we get a Sons of Anarchy alum, Maggie Siff.
Gorgeous.
She's so fucking beautiful. But yeah, so like she's the in-house therapist for the hedge fund.
Which you don't find out to the end, though, which is great. You just know that his number 2 is in a shrink's office. And then after the scene, she walks into the offices, and you're like, oh, and that's the reveal. Which, by the way, that is a real thing, like in-house finance stuff. Do you remember Mattress Girl? The girl who carried around the mattress because rape or art or something? Both of her parents are not just those people. They are the consultants that supply those people to Wall Street.
Holy shit.
They're some of the wealthiest psychiatrists, like, probably in America. And their job, and this is, again, a real job, is to, one, figure out who's going to wash out, who's going to burn out, and then provide resources and therapy services, not directly. The Mattress Girl's parents like do the admin part of it, but like to provide people whose job is basically to erase people's consciousnesses, like to just like not consciousness, consciences, like to just teach you how to like be an inhuman monster, to give you like these pep talks that like eradicate any kind of like morality you have. And that's a whole huge, massive industry in finance, because it turns out that people aren't supposed to do that stuff. It eats away at your soul and rots you from the inside.
No, yeah, it's like the same difficulty soldiers feel with pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
You're not, the more that they can disconnect you from that very good base instinct, the better for them. But so the number 2, the vest guy, goes in and he says that he's felt like he's sort of lost his swing in trading. And she basically, gives him one of these pep talks.
She like hits him.
Yeah. I would just bust on the spot if she did.
Yeah, he's by the way, he's getting like so hard through his micro fleece vest.
Yeah.
It like and she ends it like a 3-minute session, and that's when she walk out and she realized she's like the in-house, a therapist for Machete Cock Capital. And that part I thought was cool that like they had her, because like again, huge industry. It's this whole like they're like, well, what's a problem with our our business model? What's slowing us down? What's costing us money? Sometimes our employees feel guilt. Oh, we got to fix that, and they did.
Yeah. So we see Paul Giamatti come home. He says, I thought this was hilarious when he sees his 2 kids. He goes, how do you guys do? Saying how do you do to a child is so fucking
How do you
funny.
do, sir? Like he could like take off his hat.
Yeah. But
they're really cute too. You could tell he has an actual like rapport with his children, which is interesting.
Yeah,
a lot of parenting details to this show too.
Yeah. So at the kitchen table is Maggie Siff, and
damn,
Chuck,
he's married to the in-house shrink, and it's his S&M wife, and somehow that's not a conflict of interest.
Yeah, and that they immediately launch into that. Like he tells her that there's a position for HR director at GE open, which is like as evil as what she's doing
totally. Yeah.
Like,
that her job there would just be being like, you know what? No one even liked those birds.
Yeah. No, Flint was going to be totally vacant anyway. It's fine what we did.
Yeah.
So she's like, why? What? Is there something going on? Are you investigating Axelrod? And he goes, no, I'm just saying, I'm giving you an opportunity, and they have a big fight.
And also, I can't talk to you about that, which is like, first of all, like, it shouldn't have to get to the point where you're investigating him before it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And she's like, so quit your fucking job, because it humiliates him in front of his children, and it becomes like this economics versus feminism, because he's a prosecutor, but she's a girl boss. And it's like,
she makes like $10 million a year.
Yeah,
and she throws that in his face.
She makes like 8 times what he makes, so way more than that. And she brings up his daddy issues, which are alluded to, and like he never says, "But your job is stupid and evil."
Yeah, and it's also like that's the other thing when they talk about their standard of living. Like, I mean, it's alluded to later. Giamatti's dad, like Spitzer, is a very rich man.
Yeah.
They could live in that brownstone. Even
it's literally like how much I can live pretty luxuriously on a podcaster's lifestyle, on a podcaster's pay in New York. And part of me, not to be all like Protestant, but like, how much money do you need? Like, literally, he's like an attorney general, and like he clearly has some kind of a trust, and they probably own the house outright, and like,
yeah, you guys can figure it out. I mean, it's like it reminds me of the Wall Street Journal graphic that was like, oh yeah, you think it's a lot? You think it's good to make $600,000 a year? Here's how quickly that money goes away. Rare quails, $30,000 a month. Like,
disposable jet skis.
No one ever thinks about how much toilet gold costs, and you're like, what the fuck is
what are you doing? Like, I don't understand. Like at the state, I guess whatever. I guess the famine meets the feast, but it is genuinely insane, because like there's no way. I bet it's public knowledge how much like a U.S. like attorney like
they make like I think it's like $180,000 a year.
Right. But
like, it's not nothing.
even if she got any other job that didn't have to do with finance, she would make a ton. And they probably own the house outright, and they have anyway. She just doesn't want to quit because she's a psychopath, which is like
exactly.
Us,
she's a bad person.
She's a bad person, and she's a girl boss. And she she does this all in front of in front of the kids, and she's like, I make so much more than you, and he's like,
she gets some weird sexual pleasure out of humiliating him in front of the kids.
Yeah,
they both like it. They're both freaks.
Yeah, and it's like, well, if that's your thing, okay, but this is not for children.
Yeah, keep this away from them.
Yeah, go to your sex dungeon. And he's like, money, is that what we're trying to teach the kids? And she's like, are we trying to teach the kids that mothers shouldn't work? And it's like, oh, bitch.
He did suggest she work at GE, which is like, you can still be evil, too.
Yeah, you can do your favorite thing, which is being evil for tons of money.
We get the Axelrod house after that, and they're in not the house he wants to buy, but like another shitty, awful
Connecticut house.
It looks like shit. So
also, unlike Giamatti, he has help. He has like a nanny and a chef, and he's a really bad dog owner.
He's a terrible dog owner.
The dog is just like pissing on the floor, and he thinks it's great. And I realized, like, wow, both of these men are piss pigs. They just love to live in piss.
Yeah, they love pee-pee.
It's just the dog thing becomes a big symbolism.
Yeah, that was it was like baby's first visual metaphor. But so you kind of see what the Axelrods are like. Like he's after the chef makes the family a meal, Bobby quizzes his kids about what they're doing in school, and the kids start betting each other about like it was like where's
trivia gambling.
Yeah, they're trivia gambling, and the younger son sort of ropes the older son into thinking he doesn't know the answer to one trivia question.
He hustles
and tricks
him.
him.
He lets him think that he has a worse hand than he does. And the axe thinks this is great because he's a really good parent who wants his children to be in combat with each other and thinks it's great when the dog, he literally said that's why it's called a pissing contest, when the dog pisses on the floor. It's like, you live in piss.
Yeah, you spent like probably $30 million on this house and it's covered in piss because you just watch Planet Earth if you want to learn about nature.
Jesus Christ.
You fucking weirdo. But I like this because the competition he puts his sons through is like, that's what the Ottomans would do to their male heirs. Yeah. Because they wouldn't designate an heir. They'd be like, oh, they have to fight each other so we get the strongest possible sultan. Even though it just creates these awful family dynamics where everyone hates each other, no one trusts each other.
Yeah, no, it's really fucked up. And also they're learning that like it's fine that the dog is like harassing. The dog is making the nanny or the maid's like life hell, and she's like trying to slow down. It's like, nah, let him go. And then the dog pisses, and he's like, this is to piss off the chef. And it's like, why is he feeling competitive with the chef? The chef just made you a roast. It looks delicious. Why is that? Why are you bringing all this competition into why are you making your dog fight your chef and your sons fight each other? Like, I don't understand this thing. He wants them to, anyway, he wants his children to compete, betray, and hustle each other. And then he kind of tells them not to, but then he winks at them. And
it's like, yeah, no, still be awful.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, but do it. But then the kid wins, and they bet push-ups that he wouldn't know the trivia question, and then the kid does. And then Malin Ackerman is like, they're like, haha, well, we don't hustle our brother, but also we don't welch on a bet. Again, another reason Malin Ackerman is not believable as a working class girl. She says we don't welsh on a bet. Yeah. No one corrected her, apparently. I know she's actually from like Sweden or something, but shouldn't someone be there to be like, it's Welsh. You sound like a private school girl.
So the next scene, we get another insane family dynamic scene. Chuck in his office, the U.S. Attorney's office. His father's coming in with a friend, and he's begging his son to give him leniency on his sentencing for some financial crime.
Yeah.
But Rhodes makes a big show of telling the old man, who he summered with in the Hamptons, like, no, I won't do it. Mm-hmm. And Dad, if you come here again to try to get leniency for one of your friends, I'll handcuff you.
Yeah, and it was technically legal, but like barely. It was it was within the letter of the law, but not within the spirit of the law. He was asking for favors for his friend Skip Polish.
Yeah, that was a confused name because Skip is usually, those are wasps.
Yeah.
His name was like, Skip was Newski, and it was like, okay.
Like, that's not how that, that's weirder than Ari Spiros.
Yeah. So they have a press conference next, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and he announces one of those big gang busts that's like, we got $2 million in coke. We arrested.
Wait. I have one thing I want to go back to. Sorry. I thought that they did do a good job where he lets Skip know that he's not getting out of it, and like he's like punishing him more or something, and he's like, no, you're going to get jail. They actually let the guy kind of break down in a way that's actually sort of moving, and it was like a moment of like good drama. And I'm like, I have like a weird degree of sympathy for like awful people if it's portrayed in an artistic way. Because like I'm a bitch, but I'm not punitive. So like,
no, I know what you mean.
There are these like when Hal, the AI from 2001, just starts murdering astronauts. I saw that and I bawled when they turned him off because he said he was scared. There was like this photo series of the reproduced final meals of like death row inmates, and like,
oh my god, yeah.
It's like I mean, like some of those people did it. I mean, I'm against the death penalty, but not just because it's a mistaken identity. I just think you shouldn't kill people. But then I see someone who's like, oh, the serial rapist just wanted ice cream. I feel so bad for this stuff, and at the same time, with a banker, I'm like, look, I can feel bad for the fucking murder robot or the serial rapist. Bankers, string him up. So for this guy to actually make me feel bad, he said, like, I wasn't ready for this. And, like, Giamatti, like, consoles him. And it's like...
It was a very well-acted scene.
It was really well-acted. I was very impressed. It made me sympathize with a banker, which is, like, to me, is below rapist and murder robot.
Yeah. There's this press conference where he's bragging about one of these U.S. attorney gang busts. And I did, like... Talking about good politics, I did like that it sort of implied that this is sort of like a bullshit thing for the U.S. Attorney's Office to do. Like, really, you're going to go after, like, it was called Operation Latin Kings. You're going to go after, like, 21-year-old, like, poor Dominicans.
Right.
Who, like, this is selling shitty code. Like, who fucking cares?
Yeah, it's like a press conference that is, like, it's acknowledged as totally staged.
Yeah. And a Wall Street Journal reporter starts needling him. Like, why are you bragging about this bullshit? So many people are getting off. Like, what are you doing about Axe Capital?
Yeah, you went after the 3 Chinese bankers and not all these evil people, plus your pissed wife. Maybe that's a conflict of interest.
Yeah. So he decides to go ahead and make a play, and he decides he's going to tell Axelrod not to buy that Hamptons property, and his reasoning is that if he's innocent, if there's nothing crooked going on at Axe Capital, he won't buy it out of discipline. But a guilty man would do it to show that, go ahead.
To flaunt it. He's doing psychology because of the pissing contest, because there's so much piss in this. This is all about piss dads. This entire show's about piss dads. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So,
well, Axe is at his kid's basketball game. And in more bad dad shit, his employees approach him to, like, settle a matter. And it's like, you're at your kids. I mean, to be fair, these are like white children who I can only assume learned how to play basketball at a Connecticut prep school. And to my knowledge, they are not Serbian, Bosnian, or Lithuanian. So they're probably they're probably shitty players. Awful. They're probably not good at basketball. But it's bad dad shit. And they're like, oh, should we buy or should we sell? And we find out one of the guys working for him actually paid off a worker to look at a warehouse to see whether or not the merchandise was for a little looky-loo in the working warehouse to see if the merchandise was moving. Something his colleague doesn't know. And then the colleague figures out that he's done sort of like later when they're walking away. And Axelrod defers to this guy, even though he never says out loud, oh, I committed a crime. The colleague figures it out. And he said, why did you tell me you were sure? You were certain? And he's like, do your own work. And then you realize, like, Axe treats his employees like his children by, like, pitting them against each other and making them compete, which is, like, I guess how finance capital kind of operates.
It kind of does. I mean, did you ever read about Steve Cohen?
No.
From SAC Capital? I feel like Axelrod's in a lot of part is based on Steve Cohen. Did you ever hear the Steve Cohen lawsuit where a guy sued him and alleged that Cohen dosed him with pharmaceuticals and hormones for research on a pharma company they were trading?
I totally believe that.
No, yeah, 100%.
I totally believe that. Yeah, that is the kind of shit they would do. And it's not made clear whether Axe knows that this guy, like, you know, went and paid off a worker to go look in a warehouse, but you kind of think he does, and he did, but it's not. No one told him. If he didn't hear it, it's not illegal. So again, it's this letter of the law kind of thing.
So there's a scene where he meets his advisor Hall, who's played by Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer, worst performance.
I know, he's so not good at this.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not good at anything.
No, he's like sort of a private investigator, and he's basically telling him like, hey, you know, lay low. My biggest nightmare is feds and windbreakers coming for you. And how, like, he delivers the line like he's on his show. Like, Damian Lewis is doing his Trump thing where he's like, come on, what do we got? What do we got? Is there a case file on me?
Yeah.
And Jim Cramer's like, you don't have a case file, but let me tell you something. The worst thing that could happen to you is feds come to you. So let me tell you, you should lay low. And it just,
you know, I that performance did feel jarring when I saw it, but it didn't occur to me that it was Jim Cramer. I was like, this guy's he's making a weird choice.
Yeah. So Jim Cramer gives him some advice, and it's to leak information to that Wall Street Journal reporter from that press conference about Stephen Birch, a banker who is an acquaintance of Axelrod. So Axelrod has lunch, makes a big show of opening this usually closed place up for lunch for the reporter, has a tete-a-tete with him. They have this back and forth where Axelrod sort of like defends the rules of hedge funds.
They're also from the old neighborhood, and he like kind of is like, you and me, we're not so different. I also hated rich people when I was, you know, young, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah. They basically become sort of allies to this, and he leaks some stuff about Birch. Axelrod decides not to buy the house. He's like he's taking all of Jim Cramer's advice, but he's having some like one of those like dumb conferences rich guys have where they're like the value of profit is motivation. With Birch, and Rhodes and three of his ADAs show up, and it immediately angers Axelrod, and they have this.
Cool.
Yeah, the first time we see Giamatti and Damien face to face, and it's actually like a pretty fun scene.
Yeah, and this is also like when Giamatti ends up calling Spiros at the SEC, who he thinks sent the journalist. He has gone full level 10 Giamatti. So you're like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. This means that we're going to get full Giamatti a couple of times. And so you see all the range of Giamatti. So his like tense coiled potency thing, and like Axelrod's like shitty punchable face being all smug and stuff. It's like a fun exchange.
It was very fun. And yeah, after that, Axelrod goes home. He sees that the dog's been neutered by Malin Ackerman. He buys the fucking house. He buys the ugly piece of shit.
Again, more psychology. It's like, the women are going to cut off your balls, so you got to buy a big ugly house and piss on it.
Just like that, fucking game's on. It's Giamatti versus Damian Lewis. The battle over who gets to keep their balls, who has to wear the cone on their head.
Literally all it took was Giamatti in this exchange being like, don't buy that house. He's doing like literally like childish reverse psychology on him.
Yeah.
He's like, don't you buy that house? And he's like, I'm gonna buy the house. I'll show you.
Yeah, Giamatti as a U.S. attorney is like his main research is reading like It's Psychology on Twitter and being like, when people are angry, they make bad decisions. So,
yeah, and he's married to. It's because he's married to one of these like insane therapists too. Again, all of these people have like level 1, the most basic like freshman in high school psychology levels of like motivations, which is fun for TV.
It's perfect for TV.
Yeah.
And that's why, okay, so at the end of this, like, I went into this with like low expectations because it's like, and it's like there's a lot I favorably compare this with Succession with.
Yeah,
and I was thinking about the aesthetically, what I love about this versus Succession. Succession is like, I've watched some of it. I think some of it's very funny. But the thing I don't like about Succession is that basically you have these characters who are awful. You basically have like the American Murdochs, and they're written by like sort of hip New York, detached New York, ironic people. And so the result is that everyone likes these awful characters, and their aesthetic is like this. Actually, it's weird. Like the set design and character design's good, but it's so good in the sense that it's like what would be tasteful to buy and wear and adorn your house with if you had $10 billion. And it all of it comes together to have this effect, to be just this like fun play about this awful family that everyone who watches seems to end up sort of liking. It's like everyone who made fun of people who missed the point of Sopranos, I feel like they're kind of missing the point of Succession, but I don't blame them because it's presented so well. It's presented in a way where it's hard not to.
You know what it
love
is? It's subtle.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing about Billions is that it is not subtle.
That's what I love about Billions.
Yeah.
Is because everything...
It's like almost campy.
Yeah, everything in Damian Lewis's world is tasteless and shitty and awful. Like he's Steve Cohen. He's got $20 billion. He makes any commodified product impossible for poor people to buy. But the stuff he wears is like, he wears like a shitty Donna Karan suit and like a Rolling Stones graphic tee. And it's like, that's what those guys wear. They're assholes. They have no taste. Their world sucks. They're doing this all for nothing. And that's why I love this. It's like, no, like the world of capital is awful. They don't produce any culture. They have no culture. They're shit. They're shit people.
And it focuses on very like base primitive greed as opposed to like some sort of like grand sense of empire, which is what like Logan Roy is like, I built this company. Yeah. And like whatever, Machete Cock like is sort of like that, but mostly he's like, I'm gonna get a big fucking house. And when he meets, there's a scene where he actually meets with Giamatti's wife for like another one of her famous like 3-minute long sessions. Her hourly rate is amazing.
She is amazing profit. Yeah. Like she has to be playing solitaire all day.
All fucking day. Yeah. Like she says, oh, you're doing well with your like impulse control. And she says like the impulse buys are a part of his like problem and the things that he was like looking to correct, which is actually kind of, I mean, that's what being wealthy does to you, like super wealthy does to you. You don't become like this. I mean, very few people become like these empire building, ambitious, like Napoleon or Ataturk. I will, build and they're just like, I'm going to get a fucking boat. Like, and like, I feel like this captures that, which is more common than the kind of Succession rich guy. And also, at the end, Skip fucking kills himself.
Yes.
Because he can't deal with the shame or going to jail or whatever. And it's like, oh, actually, for all as like crude and ridiculous and hammy as some of these characters are, they do let them have like these weird human moments, even though they're kind of like cartoony or whatever. It's like good TV.
I honestly did not expect to like it so much, and it's like, no, I like it more than Succession. I mean, it's corny and it's funny. It's like Sons of Anarchy, but it's like season 1 Sons of Anarchy where it knows what it is.
It's
also like, strangely very good politics. Like how in Sons of Anarchy they portrayed federal law enforcement agents as awful.
Right.
Purely awful psychopaths.
And you find out Giamatti has all these daddy issues, and he's so petty and self-motivated, and like,
like Spitzer.
He doesn't even
any of these guys.
Yeah, he doesn't even do the investigation that he should have early on because he doesn't think he could win it, and the reason that bothers him is because he wants to deal with his like record. Like he has like this big ego thing, and it's all just piss dads. It's just daddy issues, pissing, vagina dentata, castration. Like I don't know. It works really well, and I like enjoyed this. And I was like, is this television that I've heard so much about? Like, oh my God, have people heard of TV I've just been reading books like a dumb bitch. This is so fun.
No, I was into this. I was actually into this.
It's just a part of it is just casting, directing, but it is written really well. And again, how it differs from like a Sorkin kind of drama is like they clearly like actors and let the actors have fun and like are a little aware that some of this is like ridiculous. And I don't know. I liked the dumb guy finance show. I thought it was good.
It's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
Like Sons of Anarchy for Finance is a fucking amazing idea, and it causes you to look at this world through a truer lens than anything else.
Yeah. Because there's a little too much Oscar Wilde comedy of manners to Succession for it to really like push the drama parts. A lot of it is comedy of manners. And this is like a procedural with drama and it's still fucking like USA enough to say shit like "don't butter my ass."
Yeah,
like,
it's perfect.
It has something for everyone, you know.
No, yeah. As
Giamatti has never failed me. He has never failed me.
He's the king.
Yeah.
As someone I went into this like this week. I was like, oh, we're gonna rip this one apart, and I was like. No, I had a good time.
Yeah.
Fuck, I might watch this just when I don't have to.
This might be the first time that Chapo has had me watch a television show that I didn't walk away like screaming.
Yeah, no, this was one of the best. And it's a little gem. Maybe I'll become a USA Network guy after this. But maybe there's something to it.
Yeah,
I hear everyone's really hot in that.
They're so hot.
My friend told me.
Yeah, I don't know. I was also surprised because as far as like stuff about like finance and class war and shit like that, it's like there aren't more shows like this. And Succession is much more sort of soap opera. I think it's very funny. I like the show, but it's like you can make like a middle brow version of that that's like still good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I really hope that Billions eventually wins the culture war against Succession.
Yeah.
If you were listening to this and you were one of the makers of Billions, like, fucking good work, man.
Yeah, good job. I had a really good
work,
time.
buddy.
And I don't even watch the television.
No, yeah.
This was a delight.
I never watched Showtime. I haven't watched Showtime since they took off my favorite show on Showtime, Brotherhood, which was actually great.
You'll watch anything with brother in the title, though.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Well, the Chechen movie Brother's fucking awesome.
I totally believe you.
It's a great movie. All right. I think that about covers that.
Yeah.
Amber, thank you so much. We'll have to because we can't make fun of this show, I'll have to think of like a different thing we watch for the next time I have you on.
I had too much fun and enjoyed it and appreciated it too much to really like rip it apart.